He colored it himself, and he's just putting a lot of work into those colors. And I'm just realizing now there is nudity in this one that
Kind of. There is.
Well, there's nudity rates. A little trivia about this. I bought the comic when it came out, and this page in particular stuck out to me because it didn't look like a lot of the previous pages. He ran out of time. Colin, you're always going on about how I wish he would draw a Captain America comic. I know he wants to draw a Captain America comic. He drew only 4 pages of a Captain America comic. Is this not the best drunk acting you have ever seen in a comic?
Yep, the acting he does for Harley Quinn. I can hear the Batman the Animated Series voice coming from her.
Is she not the perfect Adam Hughes character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a rubbery cartoon character with that high up voice. And yeah, it's a great fit.
Hey everyone, welcome to Ink Scribes, the comics podcast where we talk about the art and craft of comics. I'm Colin Singh, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Eric Zawadzki and Taylor Stauft. We're 3 lifelong comics fans, readers, and artists. Today, we're going to go into the second part of our Adam Hughes Spotlight episode. Over the past 10 years, specifically, he's done a fair amount of comic sequential work. So we're going to be looking at everything outside of, in the first episode, we talked about Betty and Veronica and Dr. Manhattan. This episode, we're mainly going to focus on all the one-shots, the short stories, and so on. If we missed anything, please comment below.
Yeah, we tried to be very thorough, but we might have missed something. I think we got everything, though.
Yeah.
You guys read all the stuff?
Yeah.
Is this the first time you're reading all this stuff?
It was, yeah. I hadn't read much of his interiors. I'd known him as a covers guy, and it's great seeing his interior work, especially on an array of properties. I guess an array of properties.
Yeah, if you listen to a bunch of Adam Hughes interviews, one thing becomes very clear. He puts a tremendous amount of thought into characters, and I think that's the key to his success. Every cover concept is character driven and character specific. Every comic has some of the best acting you can find in the medium. And each character stands and moves differently. Every character feels individualistic. Hughes doesn't just insert a regular standing pose when the scene calls for a character to stand. Each character is standing differently. Each character sits differently. And all of this is based on how he thinks of the characters. Yeah, if you listen to him in these interviews, it's just clear that he's a genuine fan of the characters that he draws. And that helps his work so much because he's putting so much thought into how they tick. He's just a very thoughtful guy. And I think that's the difference between him and his many imitators, his focus on character. His famous covers aren't purely cheesecake drawings. And even if it's falling into that category of cheesecake imagery, he's always humanizing his characters. And that's the primary focus of this particular episode. He's a great storyteller, but for the most part, I want to talk about the character acting because I think he's one of the best in the industry when it comes to that particular aspect of drawing comics.
Yeah.
Adam Hughes is the master. Adam Hughes is the one.
Yeah, his acting it's something that can get lost with a lot of artists of, you're the director, the costumer, the lighter, the cinematographer, but yeah, you're also the actor. You gotta think about how these characters function.
So are you opening then, Eric, with this Hellboy cover?
We're gonna dive directly into the comics, but I very quickly just want to show off some original art because although we're primarily going to talk about the acting, he colors all these comics as well, and I just want to quickly show some of the original art compared to some of the colors as well, because it's just very impressive how different the piece can feel from black and white to color, just how much vibe and atmosphere you get when the colors show up. I mean, look at this. Like you can see the creature in the background very clearly, but when it comes to the color, it has a more ominous feel because the creature is kind of hiding a little more in the trees.
Yeah.
And then the ghostly figure is more ghostly, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, she pops, the child skull pops.
Child skull.
And those red eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of looming over them like this gigantic henge.
And I love seeing all like the whiteout on here, basically the white paint applied to add to the illustration.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, like yeah, I don't have too much to say, but just like look at the difference in atmosphere between these two.
Yeah.
Like whereas this one felt super cold, this one just feels like you're in a desert. It feels
oppressively hot.
Yes.
You know, it's like seeing the original, like this is the first time I'm seeing the original black and white artwork compared to the cover itself. And like the decisions he made for, he colored this himself, right?
Yeah.
So overall, just the decisions he made, the direction he went with the colors on the cover compared to, there's still a lot you can do. There's like infinite different ways you can color this cover. But going from black and white to the more painterly look, I just think it's interesting that he didn't go with more flat palette, if you know what I mean, because the blacks and everything just define all the forms so well that, you know, I think a flat, like if you went a more minimalist approach, I think who knows, but in a minimalist approach he would pull it off a different way.
And I know what you mean, like both of these separately, they work on their own. It's not like the first one. It's not like the image on the left, you think like, oh, it's just so incomplete because there's no color. Like this can exist as a piece of art on its own.
Exactly.
So I understand, like, the appeal of flat colors in comics, I think, are to not take away from the line work, because over rendering can distract away from all that hard work that is in the line work. But yeah, I don't know. Primarily, the rendering is, I think, specifically designed to do one thing, and that is to create a specific atmosphere. And so, yeah, I don't know if I would prefer it in flat rendering. I think this is absolutely perfect. Like, again, going back to the cold.
That's a good example of the more flat rendering there, though. Like this covers completely. It's more in the other direction, right?
But actually, now that I think about it, all the comics we talked about last week, because they were longer, they weren't just one-offs, he needed to work with a colorist. But in all the comics we're looking at this week, they were shorter, so he was able to color them himself. And there is one particular comic where there are scenes where the colors are a little more flat, and so it'll be interesting to see your thoughts when we look at that one. But yeah, here's again looking at an interior page, just like compare that snow effect for the lack of snow effect in the original art. Just a lot of texture is added. Like I love this textural approach that he's added in that first panel in the color image.
Yeah, and he's relying on the colors to do a lot of the work for those trees in the background too.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he's definitely thinking, you know what, I'll take care of this when I color it.
Actually, there's more rendering on the trees in the color version, interestingly. Which, from my understanding, he doesn't use a Cintiq to color. He's used a mouse since he learned, and he's still stuck with that mouse.
That's
man.
Oh
man, because I remember early interviews back in high school that I read where he talked about painting with a mouse, and I was like, oh, how?
That's what an uphill battle that would be. God.
I remember reading that like 10 years ago, and just recently I thought, like, if I get on this show, I'm going to mention the mouse thing. I have to find out, like, he can't still be using a mouse. And then, yeah, I listened to an interview with him from like probably 2 years ago, and yeah, still using a mouse.
Wow.
And it looks stunning. So yeah, what can you say? Like, don't change your process if everything's working.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, he must understand how exactly to get the gradations and stuff that he wants without kind of finding it. He has to know. Select and
broke,
color.
Don't fix it.
Yeah.
Although, like, a mouse is not good for your wrist. Like, I use a Cintiq to draw comics. I don't use the mouse too much, but I edit these episodes, and on days where I spend hours editing, I'm using a mouse, and I feel it at the end of the day in my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine. Maybe he's got some Superman type wrists, and but yeah, here's another page. Look at like look at the difference in atmosphere again, and like look at the glasses, and even just like the lighting on her face in panel 2.
Yeah, you can see where he's demarcated where like the light and like the harsh light, the overblown light, and the rest of the actual color will be on her face
Yeah.
there under her jaw, and looks like he paints over it.
Yeah, it's like he knows the lighting, and so he's communicating to future him
Yeah.
where the light, what he intended with the lighting, just in case, like, because there could be days or weeks in between, like him drawing it and then coloring it.
You know, once in a while, just looking at artwork like this is, I don't know if this is off topic or not, but I see both the black and white and the color, and I'm just like, I love comics so much. Like,
Hell yes.
Adam Hughes can make any story just feel special. I run to the store every time an Adam Hughes comic is coming out. I swear to God. Like, I'm a Wednesday warrior, and my pull list has gotten smaller and smaller over the last few years, but every time he has one out, I'm there the day of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go to the comic shop enough, but like,
Yeah.
I was there every time there was a
Yeah.
new Adam Hughes comic to come out. So yeah, I'm right there with you. There's only a handful of artists that will force me to get to that comic shop. But yeah, look at the rendering, the extra rendering he does for the cobwebs.
The bottom left panel, you can see that he's using color to not just fill in the cobwebs, but also kind of to draw more the delicate lines forward to just make the cobweb feel more full, I guess. There's like layers of cobwebs to let you know, look how old this place is. It's great.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
mean, this entire issue is just like cobwebs on cobwebs on cobwebs.
Yeah.
So later on in this episode, we're going to look at this Marvel anthology book he contributed to. I just wanted to show the variant he did because the variant isn't included on the Kindle app that we're going to look at. Oftentimes, he'll do an incentive variant, and yeah, like I was able to buy. This was the actual issue, but yeah, his variants usually go for like $20 or something. So
Yeah.
but yeah, and so this comic, I guess we might as well just cover this one now. This is like The Ride is a comic that started in the mid 2000s. He did the first 2 covers, and it was he's very associated with Gaijin Studios. And so The Ride, it was basically all the Gaijin Studios guys drew those early issues of The Ride. And so this was like a maybe 20-year anniversary, I believe, 20-year anniversary of The Ride. And so they created a one-shot, and they got Adam Hughes to draw 5 pages. I got the comic, and the comic used to be on Kindle. I never got around to buying it, and it's somehow, for some reason, been taken off the Kindle. So we're not going to be able to really look at that one. But I did scroll around online and find, I think it's 6 pages, and I managed to find 5 of the original art pages that we can look at here.
It's lush. Like these black and white ones are crisp.
Yeah, and so much work being done in the colors, which we covered with those earlier images. But like, yeah, I don't know if yeah, that's not going to show up very well. But yeah, he colored it himself, and he's just putting a lot of work into those colors. And I'm just realizing now there is nudity in this one that
kind of.
Can we even say nudity on YouTube anymore?
There is.
Well, there's nudity rates. These pages are out of order. I need to yeah. But yeah, these pages are. But yeah, that's there's some bare breasts right there.
Yeah, but you know, it's definitely not a salacious version of it, right? There's no. She is vulnerable. Look how vulnerable she is.
Well, all those sex toys and stuff too. I mean, I don't know if you can even I don't think you're going to be able to show this.
I guess I'll have to blur some of this. Sorry, audience. Seek it out on your own. But yeah, it's a fun little story where she's in danger, and she's trapped in this weird, I don't know, sex hut thing, and as these guys are about to invade.
Yeah.
and attack her. And but she finds this weird like furry costume, I guess, and then jumps out and attacks them with all the with all the things she has in there.
Cricket bats.
Fantastic
and
summarization.
I definitely could have done that way better, but but yeah, I mean that was a fun little short. I wish I could show off his absolutely gorgeous colors. The owners of the ride,
Is it 12 gauge? It's 12 gauge, right?
Yeah, it's the 12 gauge guys, Kevin Gardner and Doug Wagner. Why isn't it on Kindle anymore? I want to buy it, and I want to tell people to buy it. It's
bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah. So
the books are still in print, though. No, I have.
Yeah, you can find the trade. I would encourage people to go to the comic shop, go to your local shop, and buy the trade.
These are
if only for these 6 pages.
Yeah,
I'm sure the rest of the story is good too.
Yeah.
Even and those earlier ride stories with all
Brian
the
Stelfreeze,
Studios,
Hamner, yeah,
Jason Pearson,
yeah,
like fantastic art. But yeah, let's just dive directly into the many short stories we're going to cover. So this was for the Batman Black and White series. I guess every 10 years DC does a Batman Black and White miniseries, and they get all the greatest creators of that era. And so this
is it every 10 years?
It seems, well, maybe less, because
the
next one was 2020, and boy, that is one of, like, I mean, every one of them is great.
One of them was good,
but
yeah.
When that came out in 2020, I was just like, holy crap, you can hold that book in your hands, and that is all the greatest artists working in the industry today. In that one book. But this was the mid 2000s one, and they got Adam Hughes to write and draw a short story. And yeah, usually his stuff is very bright and colorful, and so he's playing within this the black and white, I guess, area. This comic is very atmospheric, and it feels kind of like a 1940s crime noir. Yeah, it looks like he's going for one of those great movies of that era.
He's still doing the sound effects here, which I love.
Yes, yeah, very hand-drawn, very
and the credits too, or at least the title of the story.
I'm not so sure. Maybe. Oh yeah.
I
mean,
She Lies at Midnight.
But yeah, I mean, look at what he's doing with the lighting effect there. That just feels like car lights at night.
Yeah, as captured by a 40s lens too.
Yeah, and I love the rendering here of Catwoman's bruised face. It's I guess because most comics we read are pen and ink and then colored after the fact. Usually you don't get rendering like that. Usually you'll get like ink lines denoting this, and so you can get a lot more subtle when you're playing with a lot more grays, which he often does. But yeah, like again, this plays like a 1940s, like Batman's monologuing, and it's very like 1940s type stuff. I love. He's just so good at texture. He's so good at drawing wood texture or any other texture. You can always tell. You can always sort of like feel the thing that he's illustrated.
This looks like it's actually set. Like everybody but Batman is existing in a 40s noir too. You know that. When was the last time you saw a man in a suit wearing a hat in the real world? You know?
Yeah,
fedora hat. Yeah.
Yeah, because there used to be a time.
Did he hand letter the last panel himself? Do you think?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
It does
hard
look
to tell.
A little.
It looks hand lettered.
Yeah,
it's possible.
I mean, it is different than the other hand lettering because the other hand lettering has a gray outline, whereas this one is
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that probably was
Eric, was this all digital or is there original art of this out there?
Oh, Adam Hughes, yeah. I mean, Adam Hughes is all original art. In an interview I saw, he spoke to how he's probably going to eventually have to become digital as he gets older. Like working digital can create a second act for you as your eyesight goes and as your as your body gives out. You can kind of get closer to the board or whatever, which happens to everybody and will happen to him. And so yeah, he has spoken about how, like, if his body starts to fail, he is going to be able to have that option to go to digital. But in the meantime, the original art pages make so much money for him that it just makes no sense for him to move to digital right now.
Yeah.
Like Mobius is one of those guys. He was Mobius was doing digital towards the end of his life because he just needed to draw, and it was just a lot easier to get closer. You can just magnify the image and just see it close up to help. So yeah, age comes for us all.
So remember, artists, if you're not already hitting the gym, you should start now.
Yeah. That's very important. If you
Can
want
I get on my soapbox, or should we save that for another episode?
Build up that core.
Well, let's just move on. Yeah, some more. Speaking to the hand drawn, like this is very clearly hand drawn, and it looks great. I love the framing of his hand. I love how perfectly framed Batman is, just in pure darkness, and the regular human we get to see lit up, and yeah. He's smoking, and we get to see his hand framed with the steering wheel.
Yeah, even in Batman's own car, in his own book, he's just this living shadow. And I love that there is no tonality to the eyes. It's just they are bright white. They're like like the car's headlights. Just like imagine seeing that coming at you.
Yeah, the contrast is huge. Like if you look at just these 3 panels. The whitest thing aside from the word balloons is his eyes. Even the smoke is grayish, and this looks like this is shaky enough that it does look like he illustrated that. And yeah, again, it doesn't match that balloon right there.
Yeah.
I love that he maintains Audrey Hepburn's likeness for drawing Catwoman.
Yeah.
Oh, is that who he patterns it off of? That makes
sense. And he's been faithful to her for pretty much any Catwoman cover he's done. Obviously, this story, it's always been Audrey.
He had a run of I don't know
that.
how many Catwoman covers, but he did like a dozen Catwoman covers, and yeah, it was Audrey Hepburn.
More than a dozen. I think that was his gig for a couple of years, actually, Eric.
Yeah, I think after Wonder Woman,
I can confirm
he was on Catwoman.
Yeah, if you had told me that he did like 60 Catwoman covers, I'd think, yeah, probably. That sounds right. I've seen so many of them over the years that
I got it right here. I'll confirm.
That is a lot.
I'm still waiting for the new edition of that to come out.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It probably won't come out. Like they announced it during COVID, and then it got. I think the story was they announced a new edition coming out. They didn't tell him. He found out about it and said, "Whoa! Can I help out with this at all?" And then they delayed it as he started helping out, and then COVID kind of messed with things, and it just is. It's not on the schedule. So I don't own that book. I don't own that book. I want it, and I especially want a new edition with an extra like 60 pages or whatever. But
45 to 83. 45 to 83.
Of Catwoman.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a good couple of years, 3 years at least.
So yeah, I said we were going to focus on acting. So let's take a look at a little bit of acting here.
Yes.
Yeah. Just look at this Catwoman. So there was a twist where it turns out Catwoman was tricking Batman into going and crippling all these people, and this is her standing up for herself, and I love the arrogance here of facing down this scary angry Batman, and she doesn't care.
She's like picking at her nails. Those aren't her nails. She's got gloves on. She's not doing anything other than to communicate to these two. Yeah, I'm not really listening. I also love the framing of the two of them in her goggles. That's great.
Yeah.
It really communicates how they're trying to come at her about this. Like, we're here, we're over you. And then to have her do whatever is a really nice cut between the two.
Also, look at Batman's eyes here, and look at as he's dealing with a frustrating Catwoman.
Yeah,
babe, I told you can't keep doing this.
And then And then she surrenders and is just like, oh, fine, just arrest me. She's like, look at that look on her face. And then just such a fun little ending. Can we stop for ice cream on the way to the station?
Fine.
with
Yes.
another the end here. Also, I just want to, there's this, I love this line right here. God, how I love other people's stuff. Adam Hughes wrote this. He's a very funny guy. Yeah, this is a great short. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Bendis came to DC, and so they there was a Man of Steel series in the 80s for the triumphant coming of John Byrne to DC, and
John
so
Byrne.
now
And the relaunch, the post-crisis.
yeah, and so they decided to echo that by having a 5-issue series.
6, I think.
Yeah, 6.
It's a weekly series.
The Coming of Bendis.
And but it was a different great artist every issue, and Adam Hughes got to draw the 5th issue, and it is just spectacular. What did you guys think of this issue?
His style really
great.
lends it to the, I guess you'd call it, I think the term now is solar punk optimism of Superman, where the buildings are tall and clean and almost not constructible, and everything is, the main hero is dressed in sky blue and fire engine red. You want to see everything, and I think his style really lends to that.
Well, you call that solar punk?
I think that's the term now. Yeah, solar punk. It's the,
I like that.
Yeah, it's a genre of like, let's write about the future where it's cool and good. Like it's an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, this is spectacular as this like this is the bottle city of Candor, I guess, and there's just an eyeball peering down at them, and I guess we compliment like all aspects of what he's doing, but like he captures epic so well, and especially you're in a Superman comic, and like you're going to see big, you're going to see epic, and like this is Superman struggling to defeat this bad guy as he's like fighting him in the solar system, and it just feels big. Like look at the struggle on Superman's face as he's fighting this guy.
Like he's moving a planet or something.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then
lifting a PR right there.
and the fight just feels so big. And so here are some flat colors. And so this highlights what Colin was saying, because we get to enjoy the line work so much here, and the color is not like stealing any of the line work's thunder.
No, it's just creating more atmosphere. Red is just so associated with danger, and that combined with I wouldn't say it's a crumpling face of Superman, but it's definitely, when you see slow motion footage of people getting hit and faces shift in ways you wouldn't think they would.
Jaws especially.
Yeah, and it's just like all of the skin and stuff. He's just really taking that impact.
Yeah,
I love that crater hit.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That feels big.
Yeah.
And
can you imagine being like Brian Bendis, seeing these pages come in? Like I love comics, man. I love comics. Anyway,
I do have something to say about the new fire chief here.
Yes, the new fire chief.
It's just that it's I like to, speaking of acting, she shouldn't have this axe, right? It makes no sense. She's a deputy fire chief or something. She's not in those trucks putting fires out, right? She is organizing this whole thing. But this really does communicate, no. She knows how to fight fires. She is on the ground, ready to go. It's a great bit of introduction acting.
And
she
you know
looks
what?
like she's in charge.
Great touch is the pink band-aids on her fingers, because her fingers must be really calloused and just like bruised and everything, because it's extremely physical job.
Yeah.
Extremely physical. So, I mean, that's a nice touch. The pink band-aids, shows off.
You gotta appreciate all the little details.
Yeah.
I love this foreground element here. It adds real depth when you have the like pipes showing up above. And I also want to comment on this. It's a lot easier to just draw a street where every building is on the same perspective plane, but that's not really how cities work. Like hell, I mean, here's a map. As an example, not everything is on the same perspective plane, and so you have a building back here which is shifted diagonally compared to this, and it just like creates more depth, and it's a lot more work, but it feels more like how city feels.
It also means that he can get away with not putting more buildings down that street too. I think if you had dropped the lettering out, it would feel not wrong, but just kind of not as full as a city would be. But you're right, with the shift in perspective or orientation, it does have a there's multiple layers.
I mean, that's just how city is. I also like this last panel. You wouldn't get this in most comics because the division of labor is divided so evenly between penciler, inker, colorist, and this is somebody who is both drawing and coloring the comic, because he's got so many years experience. He's got like 20 years experience coloring his own work, and so he's thinking in terms of color, and he's thinking in terms of just like reflection on a windshield, communicating ideas to the reader. And this is her looking up and seeing something spectacular, which is on the next page, which is here, Supergirl saving people from a fire.
Love that cape work. And those kids, the acting of those kids. This is the greatest day. This is the greatest moment of their life, despite their home burning to the ground. And others are just, I hate this. This is awful.
And this one kid, this is such a beautiful touch. Again, it's all about the little things, the little details, the stuff that aren't necessarily aren't necessarily about the story, but add little details that make the world feel a little more real.
Yeah.
This a little trivia about this. I bought the comic when it came out, and this page in particular stuck out to me because it didn't look like a lot of the previous pages. He ran out of time, and it's a lot of flat colors on this. We're looking at after the printing, he got a chance to fix it for the trade.
Oh, wow.
And he was behind schedule, and so he had to send it to the printer.
Yeah.
And DC was kind enough to let him finish it for the trade. But like, there's no texture on the couch. And
or the flames.
And she in the background, she like iced. She like, I guess, created ice to get the kids out, and so it's
the fire truck lights are also have been added in.
Yeah.
And just generally her face is just flat colors. So here's an opportunity, Colin, for you to have Adam Hughes with flat colors. And that's the most obvious page. Oh, actually, even the next page with the Justice League and everything, there's a lot more rendering in the trade. So, I mean, that's just a fun thing to...
what does Green Lantern and Cyborg look like on that page? Open that up.
Yeah, it's flat colors.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And even this building here, I don't know if that shows through, but yeah, there's no windows.
Oh.
He just ran out of time.
Yeah.
The page, the previous page of the moon, do you think so? Obviously, it was digitally textured. If you go forward, that's digitally textured. So the artwork would be, the original artwork would just be what, white?
Maybe, or he just inked it in and then put a color hold on. Potentially, like this stuff would be just straight black ink on the page, and then he just applies a color hold like light blue on it when he's coloring.
The moon,
the moon. Yeah, that's probably a lot of texture like here, maybe, but maybe it is all white. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the big fills could be inked, but
that's not a knock. I just want to know what the decisions were in
Yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 pages out there in the wild, but I wasn't able to find much more. But quickly, I want to comment on like how he introduces the Justice League. He introduces them. The camera angle is a low angle, and it's basically our perspective as a normal person, how we would view these larger than life figures towering above us. And that's just the best way to introduce the Justice League. I also really appreciate when he has regular people around the scene to like that we can relate to. They're looking up in sort of like awe.
I love that he has Batman perched atop something, the most regular of them all. He's climbed up there just to like, I'm also up here. I'm Batman.
Yeah, it's very good. So yeah, I guess we shouldn't show too much of this. I recommend people pick this up, but I actually I have a little bit more to say, I guess. Like this is just like Superman using his laser vision to create an image, and you get the sense that he's like that Adam Hughes has researched what burnt tin looks like and what it would look like when
how does a laser punch through stuff? And
in the 2000s, he did a bunch of designs for statues, and I remember reading an interview or watching an interview where, so there was this She-Hulk statue where I guess she had just transformed and hulked out, and so her clothes were ripped because she got bigger. And he said that he went to a thrift store, bought some clothes, and specifically ripped them, like pulled them to see strategically, like, where does it rip when it's pulled? And he did that specifically for a statue design. So he goes and gets his hands dirty and investigates and does the proper amount of research to understand how things work before he draws them. And if you look at that She-Hulk statue design, you see, yes, it's going to rip at the seams here, and the shoes rip in a very specific way. And yeah, I just think of that when I look at this, like, yeah, what
like
kind of research
Daniel
did he do?
Day-Lewis, like researching the role for 6 years before they film.
First, I had to build a laser. Then I attached it to my face.
Yeah, exactly.
Lastly, I just want to show off like my absolute favorite page, which is this one, because
That's
this
your favorite page.
Yeah, because it mixes the epic with the personal. I think,
Right.
like you feel exactly how monumental this task is and how big it is, intercut with close-ups of his face and just how determined he is. And it's just one page of just one action going on, and intercutting the epic with the personal.
I like the way he's rendered Superman moving through the earth as well. It's almost like he's swimming and digging at the same time. He's not just burrowing through at speed. He's purposely moving earth around him.
You know, I just want to say too, at that last panel of Superman's face, that's an angle of a male face that we don't see him draw too much, I don't think. It's a really interesting shot. It's very flat and like very, what's the word, straight on. Instead of like tilted up or to the side, like this is a very straight on shot. And I think the lighting of obviously the lava hitting his face in a certain way, it's really nicely balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has the feel of, what is that? Like he's confused in his determination.
Yeah, the expression's very unique too.
And I like the gradual, how it gets dark and more color, and we see behind him where he was coming from. And I love the slow introduction of color to the point where it's when we get to the bottom of the page, we just see how strong this color is, and it just takes over that entire panel as he reaches his destination. It's a beautiful comic. I highly recommend people seek this one out. But yeah, we have to move on. Colin, you're always going on about how I wish he would draw a Captain America comic. I know he wants to draw a Captain America comic. He drew only 4 pages of a Captain America comic.
I don't
Still
know
pretty
this
good
one. I have 700, but not 701. I've looked for it. Hourglass doesn't have it. I live in BC, so none of the comic stores here have had this one. I don't think.
I mean, it's unfortunate it's only 4 pages, but
Yeah.
so, but yeah, he gets pigeonholed as the pinup girl artist, but he loves World War II stuff. He's a big fan of Captain America. He wants to be doing more of this stuff. In fact, when he got the Superman cover gig, it was like hallelujah, because like I guess he got to escape being pigeonholed as the girly girl artist or whatever. And he did some spectacular covers for Superman. Like those are some showstopper covers. But yeah, Captain America, he only did like 4 pages, and it was just like a quick, fun little World War II story as he fights a buxom super Nazi.
It's just a gigantic woman. Yeah. I think, he is very well suited to the 40s too. I think because his rendering of men as muscular figures is much closer to that era of what does a guy with huge muscles and strength look like. It's that kind of it's there's so much it's not defined, rather than the cut sculpture of modern muscular conveyance, like showing the audiences, oh, you can see every ab, every oblique, all of them,
Yeah, actually that makes sense. I can see that. But yeah, so only 4 pages, but great. People go find that comic. And it's like $2 on Kindle. Go and pick it up.
Yeah.
Next he did Fantastic Four number 5 or 650, depending on your preference, I guess.
Talk about acting.
650.
Yeah, this is another one I picked up when it came out. It's very thick. It's multiple artists and like
okay.
Multiple artists, but he does like a short, what is it, like 10, 12 pages
11,
in the
I
middle?
think.
It's longer than I thought it would be. But man, you want to talk about acting?
Yes.
This was a great strip.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? Why? So whenever we see an artist who appears, their storytelling appears a little different. There's always several factors. And one of the factors here is that this was written Marvel method. So all those other stories were full script. And yeah, in interviews, he's talked about how he really doesn't like Marvel method because he is such a focus on acting. He wants to know what the characters are saying. And in Marvel method, oftentimes you don't know what the characters are saying. That's going to be figured out later. He did like a Star Trek graphic novel back in the 90s written by Chris Claremont. And that was Marvel method. That's where he learned he didn't like Marvel method so much. But
I'm going to track that down.
Yeah, he got this gig and he just surrendered and said, you know what? I may not prefer this, but I'm just going to go wild with this. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. And a lot of people read this stuff and they see writer and they see artist and they just make assumptions that the writer is just telling the artist what to do. I don't know specifics. We won't know unless we have him on a future episode. Maybe we should ask him to come on and talk to us. But I want to stress that like we don't know who was responsible for what, but there's probably a shocking amount of stuff in this particular short story that Adam Hughes is responsible for.
Yeah, when you consider how the Marvel method works, you could look at it as, oh, I don't know what they're going to be saying, what the characters are going to be saying. But you can also look at it as, I'm going to dictate what the characters are going to be, or not dictate, but definitely influence it, right? You can't have Johnny Storm going, "Blah," and have it be, I can't wait for a tasteful evening, fellas, right? He's kind of, if that wasn't the plan, it kind of has to be now.
Well, I mean, I get the sense that like Dan Slott just said in Star-Lord shows up with Rocket Raccoon, and that's just what he wrote. And Adam Hughes illustrates, like Adam Hughes is always thinking about character, and I guess influenced by the movies, he's like, well, this is how Star-Lord is going to show up. Then Dan Slott sees the art, and Dan Slott is like, well, what am I gonna get him to say? And it's just like, screw it, I'll have him singing.
Yep.
And I get that sense through a lot of this. A lot of it just seems like Dan Slott added a little zinger, onto a fun illustration he got in his inbox. It was just a fun challenge of just like, wow, look at that face. Let's add a zinger here, and look at that reaction. Let's add a fun little bit of witty banter here.
Dan Slott is also a huge fan of the Marvel method, and I could see him taking the attitude of, I like it because it lets artists do the artist job.
Yeah, a lot of great comics are great because the artist was
just left alone.
like, yeah, they got to just go wild.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you find a boring comic out on the stands these days, it might not necessarily be because the artist is boring. Maybe it was because the artist was like put in a little box and wasn't allowed to, like, it's just like follow this to the letter of the law or whatever, and just like but who knows, like it is fun to see Adam Hughes work in both schools, and then you get to like examine it and see the differences, because does this not feel a little closer to Betty and Veronica than, say, like his writing on Betty and Veronica than, say, some of the other books? Just the wild and crazy and wacky, over the top aspects of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like it feels like he's co-writing this.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's getting in trouble, no costumes, and he's like, but
the other thing is, I really do appreciate, both for like the Man of Steel book and any Marvel work that he does, that I don't know if it's editorial or the writer, but they utilize him. They want him to draw everybody. They find a way to bring Spider-Man, or like in this case, it's Ben Grimm's wedding. So obviously all the male heroes are going to be going for this stag night that he's got planned, or Johnny's got planned for him. So you see Spider-Man, you see Captain America, you see Black Panther, all these characters all coming together in this one thing. I like that they do that.
Yeah, and in my
drawing X character, right?
Yeah, and in my spiel in the beginning, I commented that he's a genuine fan of all this stuff. If you listen to interviews with him, when he talks about this, he's like, I got to draw Spider-Man. I've never had a chance to draw Spider-Man before. Like, he is a genuine fan. And so you as a fan, Colin, are appreciating that he gets to draw these characters, but he is drawing it, freaking out, going like, I'm getting to draw D-Man, like everyone's favorite Marvel character, this guy, right?
Who doesn't love D-Man?
Exactly.
But Taylor, you were commenting on the acting of Spider-Man, because I love this. This is character specific. He's not going to draw any other character posed this way.
Nope.
That's like, because Spider-Man is this meek sort of he's an everyman. He's supposed to be we relate to him. He's the everyman. He's being scolded, and so he's gonna sort of shrink a bit.
But when it comes to Spider-Man, I would say, like I explained it to my wife, was he makes all those weird, awkward jokes that actually Zeb Wells wrote the best scene in Avenging Spider-Man by Joe Mad, and we're gonna look at that soon, where he needed a ride home after they just defeated this bad guy, and all the Avengers like, well, no, I'm going in the opposite direction, or on, I'm not strong enough to carry you, or whatever the case may be, and everybody's trying to pass him off to someone else to give him a ride home. He's just that one awkward guy that no one wants to hang out with. I love that version of Spider-Man.
And pay close attention throughout this story, because we're going to get little subtle details that like highlight the not everything works out for him or whatever. And just like tiny little like background gags or whatever. But yeah, just a lot of over the top acting here.
That's great. Just so explosive. Like, I'm a warrior. I'm not going on this ladies' night thing. I'm going with the fellas.
Yeah, and he gets a
great shot. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sit here and I guess I'm just assuming Adam Hughes was told in the script Ben is gonna go wrestling, and I think Adam Hughes just like threw whatever he wanted in the wrestling ring, just like threw whatever random stuff he can come up with.
Ben Grimm's given the
There's
people's
a Kirby
elbow.
luchador mask that he's got the one of the characters wearing there.
Is that a Cthulhu in the ring?
Yeah, I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, it's great.
With a Kirby luchador mask.
Yeah.
And what I was talking about with Spider-Man is right here. Basically,
some great acting.
He lifts up a glass, and of course the napkin sticks.
Napkin stuck to the from the condensation. Yep.
It's just like a subtle thing of just like, Spider-Man is awkward and like nothing ever like goes completely right. We get a little thing where it falls here.
He's enthusiastic in a way that other people find tiring. You know, you get the feeling everybody there is, or at least I did. I got the feeling that everybody there is like, no, I like Spidey, but you know, he can be a bit much.
Yeah.
Look at the strategic use of the Spider-Man lines.
Yeah.
When he knows to pull back, and he like, this is what we were talking about last episode, where he's figured out how much work is required for interior art versus cover art.
Yeah.
And he knows like I don't need to draw the lines here.
No, and that also speaks to the fantastic design of the Spidey costume. It is so recognizable. Even in a very small rendering of it, you know exactly who that is.
Anything else you guys want to talk about with this particular issue?
You can't show the whole thing, right? This isn't the end of it.
No, I mean, we don't need to look at all of it. We got to move on. There's more greatness coming.
Great. I mean, obviously, I love it when he draws the sound effects. I love the storytelling he does.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can see in the. I love that you can see in the panel beforehand. She has his tie.
Yeah.
And then bam,
and then she pulls it.
Yeah, she pulls it real.
But it's sad completes. I think that's kind of sad, but it does also work as like that's the sound of Johnny getting punched. The only thing I want to touch on is the very end, the final page of Ben and Johnny together.
I want to comment on this actually.
Oh, yes.
The different body types, because earlier you were talking about how he's does this sort of like 1950s and you can see that here. Like Thor is kind of beefy, like a footballer, I guess.
Yeah, he looks like those guys that break strength records. You know, there's not definition. There's just power.
Yeah, and then on top of that, very character focused, character specific. Doctor Strange is not going to be as beefy as the other guys.
No.
And he's aware of that. Like a lot of artists, like honestly, you don't have a lot of time in the monthly grind to get this specific. So you just have your two body types that you're used to drawing and you just draw it. But Adam Hughes has more time and is going to put this extra thought into it and is going to draw different body types. Even Johnny Storm is more cut than Doctor Strange, but still nothing close to what Thor is.
Yeah.
That
Johnny
cap
looks,
of Thor. No,
I think
Thor.
that's Thor because they're very
right.
They're following the Ragnarok design at the time. I also love the way is her name Thundra?
That's right.
Is just like piling it, like she is almost kind of weighed down by her winnings. Like I've taken the cloak of levitation. Oh no, never mind. It's not the cloak of levitation, but it is like she's got the helmet. She's got Tony Stark's glasses. She's got Thor's cape. She's just like, look at all this stuff I got.
Yeah, just so fun. But yeah, you wanted to comment on the finale, I guess.
I think it's probably is it the last page? Yeah, I think it might be the last page. Just them talking is really great, right? It communicates these are brothers. They're here for each other. I don't know. I'm a real sucker for depictions of friendship. I think it's something that media doesn't really give enough time to, and this was just a very nice scene that is communicated through a giant rock man and his human pal sitting on a sidewalk.
Yeah,
and also it starts to bring the vibe down. Like it starts to quiet down a bit towards the end. Like they just went through so much, and now it's just like the breathing is slowing down, and just even the music is slowing down, and
the lights are dimming. Yeah,
exactly.
It just feels like at the end of the night, we're there with each other. It's really nice.
Something I used to listen to a lot of movie audio commentaries, which I highly recommend for artists. Listen to as much audio commentaries as possible because there's a lot of discussions about visual storytelling. And I don't remember what movie it was, but there was a movie I saw where the framing was two people having a conversation and it was like this. The camera behind them, you don't see their face. And the reason that angle was chosen, according to the director, was that they were having an intimate conversation, and we as the viewer are not involved in it. We're just sort of like we're eavesdropping, we're spying on. This gives the notion of this is so deeply personal that it is only for the two of them, and that we're just sort of like seeing it from behind.
Right. As soon as there's somebody looking at them, they would stop. They would.
Yeah. And this angle is, I mean, I promise you, that was deliberately chosen because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think it continues through. You don't. I want to say the last page. Yep, the giant hand on his shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, just just so much thought put into everything here.
Yeah,
but
to the eyes.
We need to move on to the next one. This one. This is the Fury short, which he calls it a Captain America short because it sort of is. So I picked this comic up when it came out. It's this we mentioned earlier. There's like a Fury variant of this. He got to write and draw a short story about Fury at the end of the war. Now, this is one I do not want to show the last 2 or 3 pages because I think there's it's a really good short story. There is some pathos here, and just the ending is great. And so I don't want to spoil anything because I want people to read this. Is this not the best drunk acting you have ever seen in a comic?
Yep, it is. Just the slouched, like, feel to Fury. He's so exhausted and so emotional.
and just like, so he's the entire time he's on a chair and there's just so much movement with, his butt firmly standing still on that chair, but just his arm movements, his slouching back, moving forward, just like, just so much.
And camera choices too, right? Perspective choices. The bottle one, from the side, like these are the sorts of the blocking. It also goes into the acting choices of characters.
Look at this little like
jutting out like that too. I mean, I think 1 out of 3 of us is probably guilty of that.
Yep,
we're about 7 or 8 in.
Oh yeah.
This is just so perfect. Yeah. Also, like he wrote this, and the drunk dialogue is perfect as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this subtle flashback as he's telling a story. We get to see like a faded version of what he's explaining, just like such clever storytelling. And we do get to see Captain America. So
yeah, such a great Captain America drawing.
Look at the physicality of Captain America here. He just like throws a guy across the battlefield. And it doesn't look like it's much effort for him.
Yeah, and the action all makes sense too. He throws the guy, he grabs the gun, he slaps him, he slaps again, he's holding it still. Let's go. We got to go. I also like the redesign of Bucky's costume, giving him the goggles rather than a mask, which you would not send.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this must be taking place post Brubaker, recontextualizing.
Yeah, this only came out in the last few years, and we're probably going to be revisiting this series for other artists too. Marvel was a 6-issue series curated by Alex Ross. So he like handpicked a whole bunch of creators to do these little shorts throughout.
He's doing sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, I should say that there's an oversized book for this where you get to see this Adam Hughes art the way it was meant to be seen, like huge. And there's also some sketches that he did in the back as well, wherever this is.
So I just recently watched Saving Private Ryan, and this has that feel. I think there's a midpoint where they take a hill, and this has that feel of we're dug in, like the guys are just where else are we gonna go? Woo!
Look at how much bigger that is.
Nice. But I really appreciate that in the post Brubaker era, Brubaker recontextualizes Bucky as he's not a 12-year-old who went out into this battlefield. He was a 19-year-old who was following a 23-year-old out into the battlefield.
Right. I think
And-
his whole thing was that Bucky actually had a gun.
Yeah, he was the
Bucky
one that
killed
did
people.
the killing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Captain America couldn't be seen doing it. But I think Hughes finds a great balance between the OG Golden Age version and the recontextualized version of
Wow.
Bucky.
But
You get black and white
his
too.
Bucky is very flamboyant, though.
Yeah, careful, fellas. I chafe easily.
Who wants ammo?
But that's also the sort of thing that you get in. You don't. Nobody brings it up a lot, but there are studies of, you know what, when you're in war, you find what you can. You know, you are a human being, and you need to be in physical contact with other people. If it's just the fellas, well, just roll with it. You know.
I want to ask him, like, what was the decision-making process for making Bucky flamboyant? It could just be to add a more humorous element to things and just to give a different voice, because throughout all his writings, all his characters have different voices, which you don't always get in comics. You often read a comic and every character sounds exactly the same. And yeah, with his stuff, I mean, it is just nice. You have all these soldiers talking, and it is nice to have a different vibe, a different, a different way of talking. So, I mean, it could just be that.
Yeah, I love Dugan's face when they're all looking at Bucky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who the hell is this?
Yeah, with the half closed eye, it's great. Okay, yeah, I don't want to show too much. Oh, this I do. I'm gonna pop up on the screen. The original art is out there of this, and he ink rendered all of the Human Torch here, and I guess because you want to sell the art, but I guess when it came to coloring it, it looks like he just completely erased all that line work and just rendered out this in Photoshop. The difference is interesting.
I just want to shout out how creepy his Red Skull is by not giving the Red Skull eyelids.
Yeah.
He is a skull.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And he got to have this lady return because she's not a regular. That's like an Adam Hughes creation. That has to be that. Like,
no, it's
yeah.
She's a. I had to look it up because like, where have I seen this before? It is from a 1977 Roy Thomas Invaders book. Yeah, he created Red Skull, Masterman. I think her name is Warrior Woman, and Baron Blood as a kind of counter to the Invaders.
Oh, interesting. I want to see what her original design was because this seems like Adam Hughesified.
He does pack on a lot of muscle to her, but I think it's the same basic design of Nazi dominatrix.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Which, yeah, of course he would latch onto that.
Yeah.
Man, look at this.
Great.
That's not easy. Yeah. That is not easy to draw. Oh man. But yeah, we gotta keep this show moving. We'll quickly look at this Harley short, which these were digital shorts that were released online, like one a week. And I think this was scheduled to be released the week of Christmas, but Adam Hughes missed the deadline, so it ended up being not released online because like you don't want to release a Christmas story in like January or February, and then it was just reserved exclusively for the trade. So I guess it served as a like bonus if you buy the physical trade, because this was designed to be released digitally first and then only released in trade. But it's interesting because the artists doing this are given a challenge. You can only work in this frame, so it's basically half a page. So the entire structure is like half page frames because it was designed to be released purely digitally.
Oh, okay.
And it's always fun to stretch your muscles, like to be hampered in some way.
Yeah.
Can you tell a story if you only have half the page? And I mean, it's even fun when you work European size instead of regular comic size, because working regular comic size like all the time you want to try something different every now and then.
I don't know how to explain it, but the acting he does for Harley Quinn, I can hear the Batman the Animated Series voice coming
Yeah.
from her.
Is she
That
not the perfect Adam Hughes character?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a rubbery cartoon character with that high up voice. And yeah, it's a great fit.
Like, this makes you want to see him do more Harley Quinn.
Mhm.
I love how this is supposed to be Harley Quinn, black, white, and red, which is creating another sort of like, can you create a comic where you've only got like grays and red? And it's fun to see his. For the most part, the red is exclusively her, and she just like pops off the page.
Except for her skin, I love that it is a flat white.
Yeah,
For the most part, yeah.
yeah, because it's interesting to
not around the
contrast
eyes.
how other artists work in this method, and yeah, this is a very effective way. Yeah, I mean, like, look at this expression. I can't get over how great this is, and he is able to do his typical sexy women, but also do these outrageous expressions, which is incredibly difficult. A
Yeah.
lot of artists just like stick into that mold of just like the one sexy image, and maybe they've got 5 variations on it, but it's not often you get something like this.
Colin, to your point previously about his hand lettering, that foosh, great stuff.
Yeah.
He illustrated that.
Yeah, like all throughout we've got the clock
Yeah.
here, which is clearly that. I mean, that was
That
definitely
view
him,
is
because he's got the skull there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bottom half, that page, that's totally like Toth. That's all Toth right there. You
Oh,
feel
Alex
it?
Stauft? Yeah, I can
You
see
feel
that.
it, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the
and I like
lettering.
the red outline and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, all the you're right. This the squitch and the whoosh, like this seems like Alex Toth as well. How you would get these? Yeah, very very clever. And this is a clever use of the red as well, where you have that sign outside of this apartment. But yeah, very fun comic written by the creator of Veep, and or not the creator, the showrunner. The guy who took over showrunning for Veep after their creator left.
David Mandel.
He's Dave Mandel. Dave Mandel is one of the most famous original art collectors out there. He has an original art collection that is the envy of everybody. And he worked on Seinfeld basically, and basically in the 90s, everybody in the Seinfeld office were working 12-hour days, and I guess everybody learned to retail therapy, and everybody had their one little hobby, and he was the guy in the Seinfeld office who was just like, in between working hours or whatever, just buying insane pages. Like, his collection it will make you weep if you see what he has.
Oh.
And so he's every now and then he writes a comic, and I think he like always buys the original art. So I am confident that he owns every one of these pages.
Yeah, you'd have to, right?
Okay, moving on to Rocketeer. What did you guys think of this comic?
So
good.
fun.
Yeah.
So this was written by the people who wrote the screenplay for the movie. I confess, I haven't seen the movie. You guys have seen it?
Wait, what?
What? You
It's a blind
haven't
spot for
seen?
me.
Oh. I saw it when I was a kid. It's
I watched that movie every day after school for like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun. I think he's a great fit for this because he really does evoke the Dave Stevens. Dave Stevens.
Well,
yeah.
Dave Stevens was a huge influence of his.
Yeah.
Better than anybody. He would definitely channel that.
Yeah, because so often you'll see Rocketeer comics pop up. It seems every 5 to 10 years, and they don't get people that stick to Stevens's
Clean
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super clean, and it's reality, but just pushed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Dave Stevens was a really big deal for Adam Hughes growing up reading comics, because it was that aesthetic that really spoke to him. This sort of like clean and slightly more realistic body types, as opposed to the like exaggerated like Jack Kirby, John Buscema sort of like a page a day, I guess, like a superhero body types.
Right. Yeah.
The comic opens up a little awkwardly for me though, which I mean I don't know. Did these guys write a lot of scripts? Because this seems so awkward. It just like opens up on a pier, and he just pops up there. But then we go to another location where the story actually begins.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, it's a weird scene setting that doesn't really work. It took a couple of pages before I was like, oh, Cliff's not there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
me too. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And so I agree with you. This general aesthetic is good for him. I don't know if this script, me personally, I don't know if it fully worked for me, because I guess I'm used to seeing Adam Hughes covers where he's telling a story with a single image. So when I want him doing interior work, I want to see a visual story where like it's where you get to see a scene play out, because this entire thing is a story being told, and it's a single image telling a story, single image telling a story, and then again single image telling a story, single image, yeah, like the entire time basically. And I don't know, it's this is not what I want from Adam Hughes original art. I want to see the acting from panel to panel rather than the acting with a single image, which is great, like the awe in this kid's face. But yeah, what do you guys think?
No, I agree with you 100%. Like there's no A to B for each page, or A to Z, right? Like
like this could be a storybook essentially, with just like narration.
Essentially,
and
yeah.
You get a single image.
Yeah. It's like a recap kind of thing.
Yes. Which, like, there's nothing wrong with that. So many comics are written that way. I'm just speaking as someone who's like, I get Adam Hughes comic art. He's very good at doing stuff like this, but I want to like looking at like when Betty and Veronica are fighting and Betty is like jumping up and down. I want to see scenes where he's showing acting over the course of several panels, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How does Cliff Secord make the decision to jump and fly off into something? Yeah, you don't get that here. The most you get is, I don't know, just kind of one-off character interactions, like him giving the Lucky Charm to Amelia Earhart. Like, that's sweet, but it kind of doesn't mean much. And I think it does kind of undermine the story of how much she means to him, because there is no continuity of their interaction.
Yeah, but something you cannot take away is like just how gorgeous everything is, and just like all these people surrounding a radio, and you got 5 different reactions to the radio.
And look at their mook faces,
Yeah, very of the time.
Yeah,
like, these people look like what do they say? Like certain eras have different have very specific faces that look of that era.
Yeah.
Even the stool that the radio is propped up on is you see how it's got the pedal there underneath, and even though you see like literally just the seat and a little bit of the tripod that's holding it up.
Just so specific of that era. Like he does his research. I love how he's backlit here. Like that just oozes with atmosphere. Yeah, but man, we're getting long, so we got 2 more. We got the best stuff, in my opinion. The two Hellboy one-shots. Honestly, I don't want to look at this Hellboy one-shot too much, because this is an Eisner winning story, and I don't want to, like, if anybody's watching this and they have not read this, go out and read this.
It's a one-shot, right?
Yeah, it's just a one-shot, and it is amazing. We'll look at 3 or 4 pages maybe, unless you guys have specific pages you want to talk about.
He just captures the kind of world weariness of Hellboy very well. I remember Mignola once talking about how Hellboy is based on his dad, who was, I want to say, a bricklayer or something, and just kind of like the slouch shoulders, the kind of, all right, if I got to deal with this, I guess I will. And yeah, I think just that panel at the bottom of he's hunched over, he's heavy with experience, and he manages to make Hellboy look real while still keeping the exaggeration.
The
Yeah.
Muppet look. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. The Muppet look. It doesn't look like any of the actors that have portrayed him. It looks
Yeah.
like
There's that Muppet look.
that
Yeah.
just big long. Brah.
Yeah, it's interesting because before he drew this one shot, he did the occasional convention sketch where somebody asked him to draw Hellboy, and he feels like he got it wrong because he was not embracing the like he was going realistic because that's just what he's used to, and with this he realized like he was able to like do a sort of melding of his style with the sort of Muppet look, which I clearly put like that is Hellboy. That is how you draw Hellboy.
Yep.
But he does feel he drew Hellboy a little too slim in this one, and then he fixed that in the next one shot.
Huh. Okay.
But he is a Hellboy super fan. I listened to an interview with him on a Hellboy specific podcast, and yeah, he's name dropping Hellboy characters.
Hell yeah.
And talking about their personalities, and like again with all of these comics, he gets a lot of offers, and he agrees to something if he's a super fan of the stuff. And this is a comic drawn by a Hellboy super fan.
Yeah.
This I love this face right here, and I have this like 2017 Adam Hughes sketchbook, which has like a bunch of stuff. But at the end here, we get to see a close up of that, and yeah, I love all the lines on that face.
Just so
And
ancient.
I love. Oh, and there we get to see this that great panel from Betty and Veronica.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
I just love seeing it in black and white, and I just want a black and white edition of this, even though it's sort of like he designs these pages for color. So
Yeah.
But I think lighting is such an important tool in a horror book. A lot of the other stuff we looked at him doing a comedy book and him doing superheroics, and this is a straight up horror book, and he nails the lighting so beautifully and so perfectly in that way that a horror book needs.
But
Like,
he probably draws a
look at his
lot
eyes. Like, look at these eyes here.
He probably draws a lot of inspiration from Mignola himself. I mean, it's not just horror films and whatnot, but the vibe that Mignola has given to the Hellboy universe, he's utilizing it like in every panel.
Yeah, the way he uses shadows on Hellboy's face, that feels very Mignola.
Yeah, and so I just want to quickly let's go to the epilogue, just to comment on some more of his great acting. Let's see. Right here, actually, this is fun. This right here, Mignola drew the B.P.R.D headquarters back in the 90s in one panel. Yep. And every single artist has drawn that same angle. Like, basically nobody has figured out what that building looks like from different angles. They just like take that one shot that Mignola drew and just like, and I think Adam Hughes is the first one who basically said, like, he's a super fan and he knows everybody's just copying that one panel. And so he's like, no, I'm going to figure this building out. And I'm going to do something different than that other angle, which is just very, very cool. But yeah, going back to like, we commented on the drunk acting of Fury.
Yeah.
We get a little bit more of this. Like, look at this glassy-eyed look on Hellboy's father figure. Just so good. And again,
this is several eggnogs in. Well, you know, the Yule goat.
Even right here. And also recognize this carpet.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some good acting with Liz, too, in the foreground. Just like playing with
the fire.
Yeah.
Well, and then apparently they had extra pages in the book. And so the editor said, hey, we have extra pages. And Adam Hughes came up with this idea to do pictures. And so, as I was saying earlier, he's mastered, in my mind, telling a story with one image.
Yeah.
And that's totally here. You can read so much in just one image.
Yep.
Like,
Broom got woken up way too early on Christmas morning.
And this is like because Hellboy canonically is a fan of
Lobster Johnson. Yeah.
And
Great.
you know, he's a writer in his own right, so he came up with his own caption, which I can't remember what it was, but Mignola didn't approve it. I can't remember what it was, but it was just a really clever, witty line. And Mignola said that's not the vibe of the book, and so the year Abe got drunk, which is so good.
Yeah, that's a great candid photo at the office Christmas party.
Just like, yeah, and everybody having fun, and Hellboy just sort of shrugging.
Yeah.
So lastly, let's look at his. I will say that the previous Hellboy won an Eisner, and so I guess they're just like, well, let's do it again. So they got together, and we got another amazing Hellboy story from these two. Which, yeah, he's a huge Mike Mignola fan, so to be able to work with a peer that he absolutely adores, Mike Mignola, was just great for him.
Yeah, and it's a great. You get the two different types of Hellboy stories with him too, because there's a lot of he loves a good winterscape and Southern Gothic sort of thing.
Yeah, and this takes place in Savannah, Georgia, which he chose that's where he lives, I believe. So it was he didn't it was Mignola who wrote this, but like you know, Hughes adds his subtle things here and there. And I haven't read too much. I've read a lot of Hellboy, but I haven't read much of Hellboy in the B.P.R.D. I think every other story, I guess they introduce a new bureau agent, maybe. And I guess like he got to co-create a new bureau agent, her, and so he's very story focused, very into character. He tries to understand the characters as much as possible because he's got to act them out, and so he created an entire backstory for this character.
That's cool.
And yeah, I guess he figured she was like the daughter of a Texas Ranger or something. But yeah, again, like a fantastic horror comic where the lighting is used very effectively. And this is something I commented on earlier with the yellow contrasting with the or last episode, I guess, in the Doc Manhattan, where there's very strategic use of yellow against the blue.
Yeah, and I love the design of the old man. Yeah, that looks like a guy who's hung around the swampy South for a long time.
Yeah, and we commented earlier about the cobwebs and stuff, which when we looked at the original art. But yeah, again, I don't want to show too much of this. It's a great read. It's got a really fun ending. We'll just like look at a little bit here and there, maybe towards the end.
I do appreciate that his storytelling is a real departure from Mignola's in the Hellboy mythos. Like he's really doing his own thing. He's not sticking to that white panel border space and all that kind of stuff. He's actually like making the panels all jagged and you know, he's drawing the sound effects in there and all that kind of stuff. Like I love all that.
Yeah. So I just quickly want to comment on this. This is an effect I've seen in other comics and I've put in my own work, where when a character is landing on a hard surface, you have them land on in a very horizontal, like flat line. Like the camera angle is extremely flat. And when I read this, I asked myself, like, I know I do that, and I've seen other artists do that. Why do I do that? Why is that the most effective way to have someone like crash against the ground? Like, and I think you just feel it more. My theory, I guess, as to why it like is the most effective way to have someone crash to the ground is that like the human body is a series of curves, and any other angle you would not feel the body flattening out. You get like her head all the way to her shoulders and part of her hand just like becoming flat as it hits the surface. If you have a higher angle or like a bird's eye view, you wouldn't get that sense, and so it feels painful when you draw it like this.
And dynamic, like she's in motion, right? Her arm and leg crossing at diagonals. That just right. It conveys movement.
It also like helps with this page in particular as you're moving down, that she moves with the eye path all the way down as well. Especially her body falling and then thunk like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just fantastic stuff. Like this is him thinking as a colorist too, because that's
where she lands, right?
That's where she landed.
Yeah. but like the wound just looks just like perfectly handled,
Yep.
like he colored it specifically. It's hard to get that effect with just like pen and ink. Yeah, and also I also want to comment, like earlier I talked about the She-Hulk jacket ripping, and like he learned this effect from doing that She-Hulk statue, and so you get to see a bit of it here, where like that's exactly how a jacket rips and what it's going to look like when it rips. But I guess that covers about like what 10 years of short stories. Nowadays he's not doing many short stories because he got a job at Disney doing something to do with movies or TV. It's a mystery because he's not allowed to talk about it. But
Good work.
he got like
get it.
he got like a regular 9 to 5 clock in clock out art job, which was probably good for him health wise.
Yeah.
And also like as a result of that, he can do stuff for Marvel. Like, which is why we continue to get covers for Marvel. But for the time being, it doesn't seem like we're going to get much of his art outside of the Disney brand.
Well,
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, like okay, great. Put him on a Star Wars short. I'd watch that. I'd read that.
Yeah, and apparently he's also writing something that Mark Chiarello is drawing, which has not been announced yet. And because he has talked about like because they're close friends. Like Mark Chiarello was the brilliant art director at DC for the longest time that like was responsible for basically hiring a lot of cover artists and like getting the art in and like approving it. And he had tremendous respect for all the notes and guidance and information that Chiarello would give him when handing in all the Wonder Woman covers. Chiarello hired him for Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
So Chiarello is no longer working for DC and now is working as an artist and producing. It's unfortunate he lost his job at DC, but we get Mark Chiarello art for the first time in a while. He's like doing Criterion covers and like and drawing a comic that Adam Hughes is writing. So we benefit, I guess, from this new phase in Mark Chiarello's life because his work is gorgeous, and I can't wait to see what those two come up with together.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
But let's. So Taylor, you did some art for this show.
Oh yes. You saw part of the this. I didn't really have anything that he was associated with, just because I don't know. A lot of this stuff is new to me, so I was trying to figure out a character that would stand out as that's a Hughes character, and that's what I came up with. This has taught me a lot in terms of planning, because as you can see, boy, I'm really not happy with that. I just kind of I should have planned them out better, but I think from there up, that looks pretty good, right? That looks pretty good.
Yeah. What's interesting? What's interesting is that I listened to an interview with him. Somebody asked him about research, and he specifically talked about bodies lying on the ground because there was a Red Sonja cover. There's a Red Sonja cover where she's on the top of a pile of bodies, and so it's very interesting. You bring up the challenges of that because he explained that his research method was to look at Greco-Roman wrestling.
Oh,
because there's a lot of bodies being squished on the ground.
All right. Yeah, because you feel like a real creep looking for like dead body on the ground reference, right? It's just like ugh. I did find something interesting, though. As we all know, Adam Hughes known for his female form, but what I found fun about this one was she is wearing like a mascot costume, right? They don't have a lot of definition. So what does a super curvy woman look like with just kind of heavy fabric draped over her? So it was a fun challenge to figure out how to make this look baggy correctly. And I'm pretty happy with the results. You can always improve, but I thought it was a mostly successful rendering of that.
Yeah, looks great. We've had you on the show forcing you to do get out of your digital bubble of art.
And, safety bubble.
Yeah, how are you feeling? Like several episodes deep, just doing traditional art.
I'm feeling good about it. It's really given me a perspective on how reliant I had become on digital, like a lot of the digital tools, different layers, cut and paste. You know, there will be times when digitally you draw something, think, I don't want to change all of it. I just want to change that arm, and you can just grab it and swing it a bit. Not on the page, not in real life. You get that eraser out and start over. So it's been very illuminating when it
Well,
comes
I
to
also it'll
the
make
planning.
you faster. Oh yeah, it'll make you faster in the planning when you're doing
Yeah.
digital.
Yeah, because the planning is the big thing that comes across as, oh, I do not plan enough. I really don't. I need to double down on that hard.
Well, yeah, I wish I could say I produced some art for this episode, but yeah, again, I'm just like working on this comic. I will say that earlier this week I was looking at these comics with a mind of just like specifically look at the acting, and there were a couple of panels in this comic that I'm drawing where I looked at a rough of a character like standing there that I maybe drew like 3 weeks ago, but now it was time to like figure it out and ink it. And looking at this Adam Hughes stuff put me in a headspace where I looked at that pose and said, no, I need to push that more.
Right.
And there needs just to be more to it. So looking at this stuff has been very inspirational. Maybe I'll pop up in the edit that specific change I made. But yeah, I'm very happy. Doing this show is an aid for me in many ways, because the comic I'm working on right now is every issue is a new experiment, and every issue is experimenting with the form of comics. So putting all this stuff under the microscope every day is forcing me. I guess I might come off knowledgeable, but sometimes I give myself an assignment, like we're going to look at Adam Hughes comics, and I start off going, I'm going to fumble this. I don't know what I'm doing, but like forcing myself to actually analyze, to say, no, I'm sitting there and analyzing this allows me to see so much more, and is actually aiding me in the comics I'm creating, because it's the comics work that I'm doing for my creator-owned book is extremely ambitious, and from analyzing all this stuff that I'm going to bring in the future, I find. So yeah, this is doing the show is a lot of fun and very valuable to my art. Like,
Yeah.
I guess, would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for bringing me on board, because it's really made me consume and produce.
Cool. So, well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to give us a follow. We would really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and leave comments down below. We've started getting quite a few comments, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate your feedback. So let us know what you thought. And I don't know what we've got going on for next episode, but thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.